flip over to the women because they've been on an absolute tear from a wins-loss perspective. And I know Coach Don Staley is one of these people that understands the grind. This is a marathon, not a sprint, and to be able to get her team in perfect position to make that deep run. But now here we are sitting in these first few games in SEC play, 4-0 to start, along with Vanderbilt, who surprisingly is here, and Tennessee there as well. Through these first 4 games, what have you seen of this team and maybe the way this team differs from last year's teams or teams from before?
Yeah, well, first of all, this team looks like a pretty different team than they looked like in the beginning of the season. Obviously, we're going to talk about Texas and the fact that they face them next up, but it looks like a different team than we saw early in the season with this game that they just played against Georgia. The offense, a little bit questionable at times, but the defense absolutely killed. They are, I want to say, 13th right now in the nation in points allowed, and they're leading the league in scoring defense. They have all kinds of accolades in that department. So defense wins championships is what they say at the end of the day. And so obviously the fact that they are tough there is a great way to start SEC play, something that they'll want to continue. Offensively, though, like I said, a little bit slow against Georgia, but it seems like they're figuring it out and finding ways to just continue to improve there. Medina Okot leading the nation with 13 double-doubles. Raven Johnson is having the best scoring season of her career. Tanaya Latson, who led the nation in scoring last season, is having the most efficient season of her career, which is crazy to say considering what she did last season. And so we're seeing all of these women continue just to pick up their play offensively. The fact that they can lean on defense for now as they figure that out is definitely key for them.
2 questions. Well, first one is, did you see what Vic Schaefer said about the SEC schedule and how it's, oh goodness, I keep forgetting the 2 words. Stench?
He used stench and the word vendetta, the SEC. Like the SEC has a vendetta against Texas.
You didn't see that?
I didn't see that. He said they have a vendetta against Texas.
And it was all about the scheduling and the fact that they play South Carolina, they play LSU. And there's another team they play back to back, and he was basically it's not necessarily tinfoil hat conspiracy, but it's whatever tinfoil hat conspiracy first cousin is. That's what Vic Schaefer was. Yes. That's what Vic Schaefer. His comments about being able to about having to play the upper echelon of the SEC back to back.
So I mean, I guess he said that about the Texas schedule, but I'm looking at the South Carolina schedule, and I think it's just as bad about the vendetta, the stench around it. I mean, is that just a product of just playing in the SEC?
Well, that's what I was going to say. It just sounds, I mean, not to say anything offensive, but it just sounds a little bit like complaining because, again, at the end of the day, you're playing in the toughest conference in all of college sports. And so, of course, you're going to see a schedule that looks absolutely grueling. I think most teams can say that at any point in their season. Mm-hmm. I think with just looking at football last season, South Carolina football had a very intense schedule in the month of October that we talked about a lot. But I think you can say the same for a handful of other teams in the SEC.
Absolutely, and it did look even worse because he said it after losing to LSU.
Yeah, and
so it I think he was speaking more emotionally. I think his emotions got to him, and then he just went off the rails. Exactly. But speaking of that Texas game, I think everybody is now very, very excited about what lies ahead for South Carolina because this is not a game that we haven't seen yet. Like, I hate to use a double negative, but we've seen this game so far, but it didn't count in the SEC standings. It was a 2-point game, a game that South Carolina lost. What did they learn from that game that they'll take into this one after losing the game 66-64 early on and now playing a game that counts in the SEC and trying to get revenge at the same time?
Well, it's funny you bring up the fact that they've played so often. They've actually played 6 times in the last 369 days.
Wow.
South Carolina is 3-2. Or, well, this will be the 6th matchup, excuse me. So it will be the 6th matchup in 369 days. South Carolina is 3-2 in those matchups. So these are 2 teams that know each other very well, but obviously a lot of change happens as you go through just college in general and the college portal and all of those things. When they initially played, Dawn Staley said it was a good loss for her team to have at the time. It was a loss that they could learn from, especially all of the young players, all of the players who have been there but are still figuring out how to gel with the newer players and, just figure out what this offense and defense and this team looks like with so many new players on the team. I think that South Carolina has grown extremely in terms of their defense and just finding their identity as a whole. That was something that they were really looking for in that first matchup, and we've seen it just come to life. They have the same starting five that they had against Texas, most likely starting in this game, and so that'll give them an opportunity to just continue to build on the consistency that they've had so far this season.
I mean, you talked about that this is going to be the sixth time that they play in the last 300 or so days. I almost feel like this is the women's basketball version of Alabama, Oklahoma, because they played 3 times within the calendar year.
Feels like it.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about how they're trying to get revenge. Do you think that they will eventually get revenge here tomorrow night?
I do. I think the defense is just a lot for any team to take on, but just the size as well. We talked about the women on this team who are playing so great: Medina Okot, Raven Johnson. I don't think I even mentioned Joyce Edwards and what she's been doing, but she's, top 15 in the nation in scoring, leading the SEC in a bunch of different categories. And so all of these players are great. Add in the fact that they're going to have Alicia Tunabes to the mix, and she's going to be making her debut tomorrow, and that's, the 6'7" forward from France. Like, adding that size to your roster is only hopefully going to make it gel even more and just continue to dominate on the glass and play that brand of South Carolina basketball with rebounding and just attacking in the paint.